Watching West Wednesday 614, Justice for Tyrone West and Justice for all victims of police brutality. Wanda, it's all you.
Thank you so much, Queen. Yes, just like she just said, justice for my big brother Tyrone West and all victims of police brutality. So if you guys could stay tuned, as you always do, while we play a short video of one of the people that started murdering my brother, one of the killer cops, the first killer cop at the scene, that started abusing my brother and violating his rights and everything else. If you guys stay tuned, we'll be right back. And as I mentioned earlier, we don't have any special guests, but we do have some things that I want to talk about, and we'll be right back. Mic check.
Mic check.
Can't stop. Won't stop. Till killer cops are in cell blocks. Can't stop.
The following video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up.
No.
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz. In a video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here, Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly. Picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, Sid, what's wrong with it? Improper way with it. There's no such thing as an improper way.
You gonna tell me my job, bro?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the law?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the law?
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration?
Yeah, let me get it.
The profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
Do me a favor, take out your keys.
Yeah, you can record me. For what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call a supervisor? I won't do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now.
Yeah? And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we're getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardez Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 and 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they could never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Tawanda, you're on.
Yes, mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. And I apologize because I'm not able to have you guys see me because I'm doing the audio part. Unfortunately, I'm not able to come through live. But anyway, as I was saying before the video, it was some things that I wanted to discuss. And before I go into that, I wanted to just pretty much throw out there that I went to on this Monday, and I want to give a big shout out to Miss Raven, who pretty much hosted and got everybody down there to pretty much it was a rally, pretty much in support of saying for private police for Hopkins University, and it was really powerful and amazing. Several different people came down, and people that I haven't seen in years came down and they spoke. And, everything that they said made sense. So I was glad to be a part of that. So, and yes, I just wanted to throw that out first. But also looking at the video, every time I look at this video, it's really frustrating because, again, you're talking about 614 weeks later, still no accountability. And it really makes me sad. And that's why tonight I feel as though I really want to dive into talking about accountability and what it looks like and what we can do as, community people, just as human beings, to actually push for and demand for accountability, especially since they have certain things out here and it's pretty much they are throwing water on top of it, watering it down, and even though I said we didn't have any special guests tonight, but my beautiful friend Hillary is very special to me, and she was at a very important meeting. And the meeting that she went to, it literally was very important, and it's things that we need to know, and we need to prepare ourselves, and pretty much talk about what happened at this meeting and what can we do. And even though, like I said, we don't have no special guests, but Hillary is a part of, and I'm so proud to say a part of the West Coalition, and dear and just beautiful in every way. But tonight I'm going to bring her on so she can share what happened at this meeting and what we can do. And I actually got a chance to meet one of the facilitators that was at the meeting, and this guy was powerful, and it was at my brother Judah's event. That I just went to recently, and this brother, told us he invited us all to the meeting, but unfortunately, because of my work schedule, I was unable to attend this very important meeting, and that's why I love, my extended family that's able to, go and be in places that I can't be sometimes, and not just to being there for me, but just as somebody wanting to gather information to help us in the community out, and that's why Hillary went. I'm just going to bring Hillary on, and Hillary, if you don't mind telling us, what happened, what was the meeting that you were at, and what happened, and what can we do to actually put some things in place to make sure that we get people that's supposed to do stuff for us to just force their hand and make them do their job. So,
Right.
mic check, turning it all over to you, Hillary. Mic check.
Mike check. Thanks, Tawanda. Yeah, I was happy to go to this meeting. Just over a week ago, there was a town hall meeting with folks who were from the police accountability division of the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. And when we were at Judah's event, Aaron Mabin was there, and he's a part of that, and he invited everybody to come. So I went, Shorty went, Dan went, a few other people connected to the West Coalition went to this meeting. And we were able to see and hear from the folks who are in the Police Accountability Division what's going on with it. So I'll sort of go through my understanding, and then if you want to add on to Wanda or ask questions or anything like that, that's fine. Does that sound okay?
Yes, perfect. Okay. Thank you.
So at this town hall meeting, first I have to say that I thought it was run pretty well. And I'm seeing that Judah put up information about the office in the chat, so folks can see a link to it if they want to. Thank you, Judah. And so there are 3 different groups within the Police Accountability Division of the Office of Equity and Civil Rights, and those are city offices, okay? There's one part that's called the Police Accountability Board, and they receive complaints of police misconduct, review and recommendations on policies involving police, and they advise on policing matters to ideally improve community relations. There's also the Civilian Review Board, and that's an older group. That's been there for a long time. If folks know about that, Jill Carter used to run that. And they would receive complaints and review investigations or assign an independent investigator. That group can do that. Of misconduct in 5 areas: abusive language, harassment, false arrest, false imprisonment, and excessive force. Now, all of these folks who review cases of police misconduct are doing it from the perspective more so of personnel, not so much of criminal charges against someone, but it's to sort of take a look at the personnel matters that happen when a police officer does something that someone complains about and address it. The third group is the Administrative Charging Committee, and they review investigations conducted by law enforcement agencies and recommend discipline for officers charged with police misconduct. They don't decide what the discipline is going to be, but they make the recommendations to the police department. So in understanding all of this, those are the 3 different bodies within the office that work on police misconduct. But what we have learned is that given some of the legislation and transition happening when the city took over control of the police, because the state used to administer Baltimore City Police, and that didn't make sense, and we wanted local control, and a lot of us argued for that, and that happened. But when that happened, something happened that changed that part of the office, and I'm still trying to learn a little bit more about it. But my understanding at this point is that of those 3 groups within the office, at this point, the Civilian Review Board is being sunsetted, which means they're not taking any more cases, and they're going to close that part down. The problem I have with that, and the problem a lot of us have with that is the only entity within that office that has the power to subpoena people and to do independent investigations. And my concern about that is that we all know that police can't police themselves. They don't do it ethically. There have been very few, if any, charges brought against police. They haven't been prosecuted for crimes against our community in this city either. So it's really important that at least one or maybe both of the other groups there get those powers so that they can take a look at what they get from the police department, reinvestigate if necessary, which often I think is probably the case, and then also subpoena people in to get testimony from them. So one of the things I took away was we need to be aware of what's going on, and we need to speak out about this and ask our city council members and our mayor what we can do to give that power to the remaining parts of this office. Because if it's not there, all they will do is review police reports that the police submitted about what they did. And that's not really investigating misconduct. That's regurgitating their side of the story. And that's not right or ethical, I don't think. So that's my understanding from the meeting. They're certainly concerned about it. They talked about other things having to do with civil rights and that they want people to report if you have an interaction with an officer out there and it's inappropriate. And, even if it doesn't result in a death, like with Tyrone, which was horrible, there are a lot of people out there who have cases where they feel that a police officer committed misconduct on them. And that needs to be reported to these bodies to make sure they can take a look at it. But if they don't get independent investigatory power, we're not going to ever hear the whole story. So that's my opinion about this. I have already written to the mayor and to the city council members. I'm seeking information from all of them about what happened and why the CRB is being sunsetted, so that I can get that information out to other folks. If possible, I may end up starting to think about doing a petition or something. So keep your ears open, but please, if you care about this, I would encourage everybody to reach out to their city council people and to do, to write to them and to write to the mayor, because we need to know what's going on. So that's that. Any questions, Tawanda?
No, so I definitely thank you for sharing that information, and because that's definitely important, and it always makes me think about when my family pretty much was bamboozled from that whole process. And then somebody told us back in 2013, when they literally had no teeth or anything, but they said that, they was going to file like a report, and, pretty much, the complaint and all that kind of stuff. And then literally when they took over or whatever, I think it was like a couple years ago, and then they wound up getting a little more teeth. They was like, well, we could go back as long as, your family, put out that, report and things like that. They can go back and pull it and keep it up to date. And come to find out my family was bamboozled because nobody never even put it in. The person that said they was going to handle it promised my family that, oh, don't worry about it. I know you guys out there protesting. And I believe it was Rodney Hill that pretty much said, he was talking directly to my uncle. And he said, give me the information, and I'll turn this over and hand it to the folks that need to, in the place, and don't worry about it. And when I called him out in a meeting, like literally, they had him kind of running it. He was like over top of it in the mix, some type of way he was there. And I looked him in his eye and I said, you bamboozled my family because you told my family. I was right there. Like when you told my family, you sat down with me and told us, y'all keep doing what y'all doing. I'll go ahead and put this complaint in for you guys, and you did nothing. Like, what? So I'm just glad that you were there, and like we really need to do this. And then it also makes me think about like when they have strong people, and that's why I'm glad our brother is on it now that's trying to, but he can't do it all by himself. We need to support him. We need to literally people out that can actually do something. We can't we're in a time now, we cannot allow them to pretty much water down our recipe. Like we need the whole full ingredients. We need to cook up them to the fullest, not have water thrown all over it, none of that. We need full accountability. And then even with that being said, because they don't even have powers to arrest somebody, but this is like the little bit of stuff that they can do that can kind of make a slight or small difference, that's getting watered down. And then for me literally to jump out there and see on the news this week that you know, our president reached his 100 days and things like that. And they're saying, oh, he's withdrawing money from different cities that's not supporting all his foolishness and all that stuff. And it's just sad that people are allowed to come into office, push their own races or whatever type of agendas that they want to push. And that's why I say this whole capitalist system needs to be destroyed. It needs to be knocked down and built back up again. But until we have that, we have to stand on something firm and the little bit that we can do. So that's why, like my sister just said, we need to reach out to our Congress people and say, hey, we need you to do this, right? But man, we have to do something because sitting back, meanwhile, police brutality is getting real. And tonight, we had like few weeks that we didn't get a chance to read the list. And just like I always tell you guys, just because we don't read the list, that police brutality is not going away. We just don't have the list. They don't want us to see it, right? Because once you saw, and that's my belief, this ain't Hillary belief, this is Tawanda Jones stepping outside of the West Coalition, because the good part about the West Coalition, we can all pull together to fight, and stand up for police brutality. That's our main cause purpose. We all come from different beliefs and backgrounds and things like that. And we try to stay focused, and that's why I'm saying this is not the West Coalition. I'm speaking outside of the West Coalition. This is me, my opinion. So I don't want anybody frowning up at people that are members of the West Coalition, because like I say, we're not communists, we're not none of that. We're just people, human beings seeking accountability for police brutality, period. But with that being said, we just have a part in a role that's crucial that we need to play, because we didn't get that list. Like I said, it didn't stop. Tonight, we have 57 homicides, 57 ambushes, 57 slaughters, 57 murders, 57 families of people that were killed, that's connected to communities, that's connected to everything, who lives are now destroyed and they have to rebuild, rethink. And I'm praying that these families, and this is me, Tawanda Jones, stepping outside the West Coalition. Me personally, I'm praying that families get into, counseling, because wrapping your mind around murder is something that nobody wants to do, whether it's murder from a civilian killing your loved one or murder of a crooked, dirty cop that's doing the murdering. Murder is murder. It's not an act of God. It's not something that, this person was just sick and they just passed away, unfortunately. It is something totally unexpected, and it takes the life out of you. Like with me experiencing my big brother, being murdered, that took the life out of me. And when I say I felt like I was put on life support, like I couldn't breathe, talk, I felt like I was hooked up literally to machines, right? Just trying to breathe. And the support that I got from my family, stepping up, stepping forward first, and then the support of, after that, they're looking and saying, well, this family's out there. And then they started seeing that, and then other people started coming there in support of the West family, right? And then it turned into the West Coalition. But my whole point is, when someone goes through that type of loss, it is like it can wipe you out. Like just going from just hearing about a loved one passing away, it could be someone that's suffering from an illness. When you know that, oh my goodness, the reality sets down that this is my loved one. I'm never going to see them again on earth. Now, the conversations that we did or didn't have, we can never have again on earth. Accepting that and trying to seek closure, which to me, I will never be able to seek closure. That's just me. I'll be able to just try to, when I get one day, I'm praying that when I get accountability, that I'll be able to just kind of start grieving. But I will never, ever have closure. Never, ever, ever. But that's just me personally. But my whole point is, we need to reach out and tell these people, do their jobs. because we can't do their jobs for them. They have to do their jobs, and we paying them. Like, we are like citizens that pay taxes, and this is a service that we are paying for, right? And we're not getting it. This is like setting up in a restaurant to go and pay for your food with your family, and you get nothing. They just put you out the restaurant. But meanwhile, they done took your money, charge you, done put the check on the table. You're like, wait a minute, I ain't even like, they are literally paid to do their jobs. And we play a part in paying their salaries. And speaking of paying, I'm so excited about tomorrow's event for May Day. Shout out for May Day for all the workers. I'm just so excited about that. And if you don't know the history of May Day, I urge everybody to go and look into it, because before that, and I'm thankful for Uncle Bill, who literally taught me about May Day and invited me to numerous events that he's a part of another group that has nothing to do with West Wednesday, but they still fight and struggled and stood up and had my brother's name up there and fight and for different struggles to stop racism and knock this capitalist system out. So shout out to him for doing that. But then talking about I couldn't imagine working a job for more than 8 hours. And if we didn't have, the workers stand together, we just need to knock it down, because it's like, you think about it, every day we're putting in, we're going to work, the ones that are fortunate enough to have a job or whatever. You're going and you're playing your part. But meanwhile, this capitalist system don't care nothing about us. The bosses don't care nothing about us. Bosses be playing people against each other. It's just sad and disgusting, right? So a big shout out, because tomorrow right here in Baltimore City, and I was definitely glad to sponsor and say, hey, West Wednesday is pretty much in support of this big event, but they're going to be doing so much of stuff, and they're going to be different parts of downtown tomorrow, and they're going to meet up in one good spot, and they're going to just be heard tomorrow about May. But I feel like we need to stay like that. Like, we need to be in that. We need that type of energy every week, or at least once a month about this terrorism. It shouldn't have to take somebody's blood to be on the ground before people start saying, oh, or the cameras coming from out of town. Because guess what? The cameras don't care nothing about us. Nobody holding a camera did not check on my family after, or, checking on me in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, and my brother's children couldn't sleep, and aunties and uncles, and my poor elderly grandmother at the time, may she rest in peace, couldn't sleep, and she didn't understand how could some police officers kill her first grandbaby, right? Devastated my whole entire family, and none of the cameras was around them. They don't care. They come for their story. And then they're gone. They're gone. On to the next one. And that's so sad and disgusting. But if we don't make the difference by literally going out to these different town hall meetings that involves stuff that happens in our communities, they're doing so much of stuff right in our face, and it's only going to get worse. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It's only going to get worse, because I heard the orange agent say just the other day, as he spoke about being in office for 100 days, and it seemed like it's been 100 years. Oh my goodness, I'm not even trying to wrap my brain around it. But the whole point is, he said the next big project he's working on is talking about clearing officers up of wrongdoing. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Not clearing, of wrongdoing. So no matter if they did murder our loved ones or not, he's going to get them off for wrongdoing. This is disgusting to me. But tonight, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to quickly see if my sister Rachel can't go on to see if we got any questions or comments. And I want to, give you guys my feedback about that. But we're going to swiftly go into the sad list of names tonight. And that's just on the police brutality list. I don't know how many we got on the community violence, because the sad list that we have, one community violence and one police brutality, but both of them are sad and disgusting, and it's horrible. And like I said, I don't know how many is on the community violence one. But I do know, and it has been confirmed, that it's 57 stolen lives. 57. So just for time's sake, and I respect you guys' time and things of that nature, I'm just going to check in with Rachel, or check in first of all with Uncle Bill or Hillary to see if you guys have any feedback, or even Brother Brian, who's on here now, to see if you guys want to address or say anything about what I just said, or add to and say anything else that you might want to say before we check in with Rachel to see if there are any questions or comments. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we used to have someone very active in West Wednesday who then went on to become a part of one of those boards that theoretically checks on police behavior. So that might be helpful to talk with her about these new developments and trying to understand how they work and how to play a role in giving one of these boards some spine. That's one. Secondly, not as a West Wednesday member, but independently, there's a second May Day celebration on Saturday. It's a dinner in College Park. It'll be a large, very inspiring dinner. And anyone wants to go to that, please let me know. So those two announcements. Mic check.
Mic check.
Oh, mic check. Thank you for sharing that, Uncle Bill. And yeah, anybody else want to share before we go to our Queen Rachel to check in to see if we have any questions or comments?
Tawanda, I just wanted to sort of add to what you said about, people still, even though we don't know what they're going to do with the information, it's still important to report police misconduct. And the group that you should really have reported to at this point is the Police Accountability Board through the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. And the head of that board is Jamal Turner. He was also at the town hall meeting, and he was very eloquent and very helpful in explaining things. I'm hoping to get more information back from him as well. Thank you.
Oh, no, and thank you for sharing that. I definitely appreciate that. Thank you. And it just makes me think about Hillary, and I will bring the point up after you got finished talking, but as quickly as it came into my mind, it just literally got completely out my mind because I have so much on my mind right now and on my heart. But nevertheless, it made me think about Keith Davis Jr., when he was, falsely accused and held and all his rights was violated. And, the board looked into his case, and they deemed and they said that they strongly suggest that the officers get fired. And, that was like a real powerful report that they put out. And as soon as they put that out, then here comes the water hose. They pull out the water hose and start watering it down like, we ain't gonna do that. And it reminds me of when literally before my brother was murdered, there was poor Anthony Anderson. He was murdered, and I'll never forget. Marcus, his son, literally told me, and his beautiful wife, may she rest in peace, Nicole Pettiford, they both shared with me how the medical examiner's office hand delivered the autopsy report, and in that was within 24 to 48 hours. They hand delivered that thing, and it literally deemed and said that Anthony Anderson death was ruled a homicide. That was big, but again, here come Bruce Goldfarb and freaking David Fowler with the water hose, watering stuff down. And ever since they did that, and then they left it up to Greg Bernstein, who was the current prosecutor at the time, the racist piece of crap that we chased completely out of office. But nevertheless, he just said, even though it was on his autopsy report, he just said, but he deemed it as a justifiable homicide. Like, how you going to justify unarmed man getting slammed on his head like a daggone basketball, and you say that that's okay? No, it's not okay. It's not okay at all. But again, when they report stuff like that and they have that slip and everybody's looking at it, they hide their dirt. And that's why I call it the Doug and Pony Show. That's all it is the Doug and freaking Pony Show. And after a while, you get tired of it. You get tired of them playing in your face. It's just like, It just forces you to a place of just fighting and resilience. It just forces you to that place. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and it's horrible. We definitely have to do something. So mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
So if all hearts and minds are clear, nobody else want to add to, I'm going to ask our sister Queen if she could read if there are any questions or comments at the current time, and we can just take it from there with all these sad lists. It's just terrible. All these names on the sad list.
Mic check. So the first comment is from Mainism, who says mic check. Then Build Life says, "Good evening, everyone. Pleased to be involved with this important work, fighting in opposition to police terror." Judah says, "Mic check," and then shared the link to the Baltimore City Civilian Review Board website, and then said, "Thank you for this clear, detailed summary, Hillary." Ansel Jones says, "Mic check." Angela Sutton says, "Mic check." And Linda Green says, "All those politicians and medical examiners," shaking my head. And those are all of our comments tonight. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. And thank you guys for all the comments and the love to you guys. Thank you guys so much. And so yes, we're in sad times, and I want to give a shout out to Bruce, and I just remember Bruce and his sister Beth will always come and stand in support of West Wednesday, and it's Bruce's birthday today. So happy birthday, Bruce! If you're on here or watching this, I already had sent you something to your sister's wall because she shared before I hopped on here as I was, advertising West Wednesday. I saw that it was Bruce's birthday, so I'm hoping that you're enjoying yourself and doing whatever wonderful things that you want to do to celebrate you. So, mic check.
Mic check. And happy birthday, Bruce.
Awesome. And happy birthday to anybody that's celebrating a birthday. And we have all these amazing proms that's coming up and everything. And I got my share of it last year, but I'm excited that my daughter, she didn't have enough of prom. So my baby girl's actually going to a prom again in like 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, you go, girl. But this time, mom ain't got to come out her pocketbook. So I'm excited about that part. But anyway, as I said, on to the sad news. And I'll probably, after I say our non-disclosure, because I'm not going to read the list, I'm just going to really come from my heart tonight. Because sometimes when you hear things like that, sometimes I'll just read, the paper that we have written up. But this, I need to come from my heart and say deeply how affected I feel about the situation, and pretty much let you guys know why West Wednesday is so important and how we stand with these families. So tonight I'm just going to do that, and I'm just going to jump right in there. So it's the mission of the West Coalition to pretty much shed peace and light. That's all we're trying to do. With these horrible situations, it's so much a conflict in the world that we live in today. We don't need to add on to that. The only thing I feel like we are trying to do and have been doing for over 614 weeks is peacefully advocate and literally fight for police brutality, because that's the forefront that I was called for. But we don't just stop there. We also talk about people affected by community violence, because it's hand in hand. It's just a different side of the coin. Wherever you want heads or tails, you are affected and someone's life is changed forever. And this type of, like I said, when murder hits anybody door front, whether it's from a or a civilian on the street, it's a totally law. No family should have to endure that type of pain. Heart completely goes out to anybody that's dealing with those type of situations. And unfortunately, the West Coalition just trying to be the peacemakers that we are, trying to resolve, trying to show people the best way that we can. None of us are professionals at that. We never signed up to be a part of a club that no one wants to be a part of. We do this simply from our, no one here is paid to do we're doing this from our heart when we're out there in the streets and Uncle Bill produced that microphone and brings it out there, that microphone that he paid his money for. And, however he got the microphone, he brings and he shares it with West Wednesday. He shares his time as well as the West Coalition. I have my sister Dina out there passing around flyers, everybody, Hillary, like the list goes on. Ritual out there that's not getting paid for her time. My brother Ben does not getting paid for his time. Like so many. My sister Kalia does not getting paid for her time to read the comments. We have Marcus. We have so many people that are dedicated because we want real change. We want peace. And murder is something that no one asks for, and your life is affected forever. And unfortunately, we get these lists, right, from local and national outlets, but we have no idea about anyone involved in a situation.
Tawanda, are you still there?
No one kills each other, no one oversteps boundaries, and respectfully, you can pretty much part your ways or mend your ways. That's what we believe in. Love. We believe in peace. And we're just all the love, peace, positive energy, prayer if you're into praying, positive thoughts if you're into that. We're just trying to send love. That's what this world is missing, love. Like, I just want to say, if nobody told you today that they didn't love you, or if you didn't hear the word, I love you, I love you. Like, even if I don't know you, I love you. I love you. Like, I really love you. That's why I'm out here fighting for people that I don't even know about. The people that we name and the people that are unknown that, we don't even know about. We're fighting for everybody. So with that being said, we're going to take 1 minute of silence, and then I'm going to see if my brother Brian is still on here, and I'll ask him if there's a community violence list. And then after that, we're going to go into this horrible list of names. And I'm praying that Brother Brian don't even have any names, because like murder is just unreal. So with that being said, the time now is 7:42. At 7:43, we'll be right back. And yeah, we'll just have to read these sad names. Mic check. Sorry, I'll correct myself. Now the time just turned to 7:43. We'll be back at 7:44. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
All right, thank you guys. The time now is 7:44. Thank you guys so much. But I really want y'all to stay tuned, because I know sometimes the sad list can be traumatizing. But when you hear these names, it's like, even if you got to step away, just try to stay on here until this program is over, if you have the time, only if you have the time. If you have something that you have to do, then by all means, do what you got to do. But if you can, but this is important that we share this, not to exploit anybody, but let you guys know that it's real, and we need to do something as human beings. I don't care what background you come from, what belief you believe in. We need to do something as human beings, as concerned citizens right now. Mic check. I'm giving it all to you, Brother Brian. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you, Twanda. Yeah, we do have one name this week here in Baltimore, a person who was died by community violence. And so, we lift him up, and we recognize his life and the pain and emptiness that his family and friends and community are feeling. and we dedicate ourselves to ending violence in our communities in all its forms. And that person's name was Derek Bright.
Derek
Bright.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Brian. And as I believe tonight, because the list is so long and sad and horrible, and even though we have the one name, Derek, where I'm praying personally for Derek's family, and we're sending positive thoughts to that family. So sorry for your loss. And tonight we're gonna have Hillary, unfortunately, and Uncle Bill, unfortunately, to break down the list. And Hillary had agreed to go first. So my queen, is all yours. Mic check.
Mic check. And again, just like Brian said, let's think of the families and communities of each of these people who are mourning their loss. So to start, we're starting on April 1st and then going through as much as it gets to closer to present. So on April 1st in Cincinnati, Ohio, 34-year-old female, Kelsey Hildel.
Kelsey
Hildel.
On April 2nd in Defuniak Springs, Florida, 58-year-old male, Timothy Jarvinen.
Timothy Jarvinen.
On April 2nd in Guthrie, Oklahoma, 45-year-old male, Jeremy Barnett.
Jeremy
Barnett.
On April 3rd in Big Timber, Montana, 27-year-old male, Brighton Miller.
Brighton Miller.
On April 3rd in Bullhead City, Arizona, 48-year-old male, Eric Watkins.
Eric
Watkins.
On April 4th in Vienna, Georgia, 57-year-old female, Paige Newsom.
Newsom.
On April 4th in Brentwood, New York, 54-year-old male, Bruce Boyd.
Bruce
Boyd.
On April 4th in San Diego, California, 19-year-old male, Kevin Gonzalez.
Kevin Gonzalez.
On April 4th in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, 30-year-old male, Deshaun Leith.
Leith.
On April 4th in Ogden, Utah, a male whose age is unknown and whose name was withheld by the police.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
On April 4th in Prairie du Rocher, Illinois, 47-year-old male, Tony Esker.
Tony
Esker.
On April 4th in Michigan City, Indiana, 21-year-old male, Jorge Meza.
Mesa.
On April 4th in Tucson, Arizona, 41-year-old female, Robin Bodelli.
Bodelli.
On April 5th in Springville, Utah, a male whose age is unknown and whose name was withheld by the police.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
On April 5th in San Bernardino, California, again, a male whose age is unknown and whose name was withheld by the police.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe.
On April 5th in Pocatello, Idaho, 17-year-old male, Victor Perez.
Victor Perez.
Victor Perez.
On April 5th in Puyallup, if I said that right, Washington State, 29-year-old male, Brett Wynn.
Brett
Wynn.
On April 5th in Boynton Beach, Florida, 31-year-old male, Edinson Jules.
Jules.
On April 6th in Doniphan, Montana, or Missouri, I'm sorry, a male whose age is unknown and whose name was withheld by the police.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
On April 6th in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, 25-year-old male, Andrew Ecker.
Andrew Ecker.
Also on April 6th in Mason, Michigan, 27-year-old male, Cameron Cothern.
Cameron Cothern.
On April 7th in Garden Acres, California, 40-year-old male, Gregory Fitzgerald.
Gregory Fitzgerald. No.
On April 7th in Miami, Florida, 70-year-old male, Luis Moncada.
Luis
Moncada.
On April 8th in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, 51-year-old male, Michael Clark.
Michael Clark.
Also on April 8th in Huntington Park, California, 44-year-old male, Marcos Cabrales.
Cabrales.
And I will hand over the rest of the list to Uncle Bill.
Thanks, Hillary.
Yes, thanks. Good evening. If anyone has just tuned in, we're reading this shameful list of all these lives stolen by police just in the last few weeks. Over 20 days, 57 lives. For the part of the group that I'll be upholding, we start on April the 9th in Malta, New York, 69 years old, David Levin. In Gary, Indiana, also on the 9th, 38 years old, Antonio McMichaels.
Antonio McMichaels.
In Malta, New York, on the 10th, 37 years old, Brandon Moore.
Brandon Moore.
In Española, New Mexico, on the 10th, 32 years old, Zachary Cisneros.
Zachary Cisneros.
In Crystal Lake, Illinois, again on the 10th, 46 years old, Derek Lawrence.
Derek Lawrence.
Fresno, California, once more on the 10th, a female, 39 years old, Joanna Lopez.
Joanna Lopez.
In Lake Wales, Florida, on the 11th, 43 years old, a man, his name has been withheld by the police.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
In Deer Park, New York, on the 12th, 69 years old, a woman, Nancy Loftus.
Nancy Loftus.
In Claremont, Florida, on the 12th again, 39 years old, Eric Escobar. In Miami, Florida, on the 13th, 31 years old, Kelly Hudson.
Kelly Hudson.
In Jasper, Missouri, on the 13th, a man, 43 years old, Gavin Newton. In Parker, Arizona, on the same date, a man whose age and name have been withheld by the police.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. In San Diego, California, on the 14th, 37-year-old Enrique Cortez.
Cortez.
In Hinton, Virginia, the 14th of this month, a man whose age and name have been withheld by the police.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
Ashe.
In Queens, New York, on the 14th, 61 years old, name withheld by police.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
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 And for those unfamiliar with it, Ashe, as I understand, is Yoruba, and it means let it be so. So we say that after saying cell blocks for killer cops, let that be so. That's what we're fighting for. In Gardena, California, on the 15th, a female, 54 years old, Alexandra Cordoba.
Alexandra Cordoba.
In Decatur, Alabama, on the 15th, 39 years old, John Scott Jr.
John Scott Jr.
John Scott Jr.
In Earlham, I believe Iowa, IA. Is that Iowa? All right, we're not sure, but I believe it's Iowa. The 15th, 51 years old, Vonderick Rayford.
Vonderick Rayford.
In Cleveland, Ohio, on the 16th, 47 years old, Andre Martin.
Andre Martin.
In Anaheim, California, again on the 16th, 50 years old, a man whose name has been withheld by the police.
Cell blocks for killer
Cell
cops.
blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
Ashe. In Dallas, Georgia, on the 17th, 22-year-old Jamil Johnson.
Jamil Johnson.
Newport Beach, California, on the 17th, 45 years old Jeffrey Sterling Jr.
Jeffrey Sterling Jr.
In Bakersfield, California, again on the 17th, 22 years old, Joshua Pritchard.
Joshua
Pritchard.
In Carson City, Nevada, on the 17th, 35 years old, Alexander Allinger.
Allinger.
In Bartow, Florida, now on the 18th, 34 years old, Wayne Voles.
Wayne
Voles.
In Fayetteville, West Virginia, on the 19th, a man whose age and whose name have been withheld by the police.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. In Bonita, California, on the 19th, 56 years old, Carlos Enriquez.
Carlos Enriquez.
In Oxon Hill, Maryland, close to home, unfortunately, on the 20th, 44 years old, Avon Buckner Jr.
Avon Buckner Jr.
In Orlando, Florida, on the 20th, 38 years old, Jonathan Flores.
Jonathan Flores.
In Louisville, Kentucky, on the 20th, 36 years old, Atume McCollum.
Atume McCollum.
In Reseda, California, on the 20th, 40 years old, Yervand Serobayan.
Yervand
Serobayan.
And we come now to the 57th and final stolen life that we're upholding and honoring this evening, killed by police in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on the 20th of this month, 34 years old, Kevin Valian.
Kevin
Valian.
And it's hard to read these names. I'm sure it was hard for Hillary as well. Mic check.
Mic check.
Yeah, mic check. So sad, so sad, so sad. And I'm just going to echo it. It's so sad. There's a life, because life, no matter what it throws at you, could be very beautiful. And sometimes it could be sad. And this is real sad when people get devastating news, when family get devastating news, when loved ones get devastating news, families, community get devastating news. It's very sad. But that's why we have to live in love. And the time now is promptly 8 o'clock. I just want to leave off by saying, live to love to live. I love you all, and happy May Day in advance. because this is a day that we have never seen before, a day that we will never see again. And I just want to say, I love you guys. Live to love to live. I love you all. And unfortunately, the way that we brought you in with this unfortunate video of the first killer cop that started assaulting my brother, we're going to end with that. And so, again, live to love to live, love. We can't stop. We won't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. We demand accountability right now. And a big shout out to my sister Rachel. I hope you feel better. This is love and dedication. She doesn't feel good tonight, but yet she's here. Uncle Bill's challenging, dealing with his own issues. He's still here. I'm dealing with my issues. I'm still here. So is Hillary. So is my brother Brian. Live to love to live. Love you all. My check.
My check.
And Mr. West begging for his life. And Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No,
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's attorney see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.